Venezuela's economy, the harmony of disillusionment. Today we discuss.
Welcome to Venezuela Insider, the only place in Venezuela for expats, digital nomads, entrepreneurs, investors, travelers, and related internationals. For more information, venezuelainsider.com.
Today we are going to discuss a little bit this particular phrase of Venezuela, regarding Venezuela, that the Venezuelan economy is the harmony of disillusionment. That, by the way, I didn't coin that phrase. That phrase comes from a Venezuelan scholar. I just listened that particular phrase recently, and I wanted to give my own take regarding that phrase, because it's very interesting in order to explain a particular phenomena that we are seeing regarding the Venezuelan society. And of course, we have to talk yet again regarding economics. We have to talk about the 80% GDP collapse that happened mostly due to self-inflicted wounds, mostly by the Venezuelan government, and other things play out, like the price of crude oil worldwide, and the oil industry, and some political issues, and that kind of thing. And of course, that's why Venezuela is famous worldwide, and the hyperinflation, and the food scarcity, and that kind of thing that happened in 2017. That is not the case right now. I have to say, again, we don't have hyperinflation right now. The country is de facto dollarized, and we are fully shelved, but still with a bunch of economic issues, especially for the average Venezuelan, that are not able to do and deal with at this given time. After the 80% GDP collapse, of course, you have to remember that GDP is a lagging indicator. Venezuela had an GDP hovering closer to 400 billion US dollars, and the bottom of the market that I say that is on late 2018. The bottom actually was on 2020 regarding GDP at a number of a little bit over 40 billion US dollars. So it's over 80%. The collapse is over 80% of GDP. Anyways, now the economy has grown couple, double digit GDP growth, 2021 and 2022. 2023 growth mildly, and this particular year we're poised to grow around 4 or 5% of GDP. This year, 2024, we will figure out that on 2025. But the main point is that we indeed are seeing an sustained economic growth that still is too little and not too late. Of course, never too late to grow, and especially GDP growth. But still, the main point is that it's not affecting directly the average Venezuelan, and that's the thing that we're going to discuss today. For the average Venezuelan, this particular GDP growth that we are having is technically since 2021, but actually was before that. It was like since 2019. Of course, we halted during COVID, of course, like the rest of the world. But the main point is that afterwards, people are not seeing the results of such growth, and we're expecting to double GDP numbers on, let's say, the next decade. My conservative estimate is that we're going to reach 200 billion US dollars of GDP by the next decade. That's a conservative estimate, by the way, so we can reach it way before that. However, in practice, most Venezuelans are not feeling such growth. And they are right, they are accurate on that particular sentiment. Well, no and yes. And that's why we are discussing this particular sentence today. The first thing is that actually, yes, they are right. That particular growth is very asymmetrical. Regarding the regions of Venezuela, for instance, Caracas has the largest share of GDP here in the country. So Caracas is basically growing on 2-digit GDP growth, regional GDP growth since 2018, something like that, and other handful of regions in the country. Meanwhile, some regions of the country are actually still contracting their GDP numbers even with this economic recovery. And the reason is that we are having a quote-unquote K-shaped recovery that see here on the chart. That is basically an economic growth that is asymmetrical. It's only beneficiating a handful or a significant cohort of any given population rather than affecting uniformly every population, and that never happens. Usually, some industries are growing. Also, that's another thing. Some industries in Venezuela are growing and growing double digit, and actually, the e-commerce is growing on a triple digit rate year over year. And during a couple of years span, they were growing at a 4-digit span. I mean, they were growing like 1,000%, 2,000% per year at some point. And the e-commerce right now is growing like 200% per year, 150% per year, something of that nature. Funny thing. But there are still some industries that have negative GDP growth. I'm talking regarding the industry, of course. And also regarding the regions is very difficult. So it depends also on the industry. So many people are not feeling that the economic prosperity that we're having after that dreadful 80% GDP collapse. Now, in order to actually feel it, I'm talking the average, everyday, boots on the ground citizen. In order to actually feel it and, embrace and feel that they are having prosperity on the country, you need sustained GDP growth years and years and years to come. And on a conservative estimate, I think it's going to happen not double digit every year, something like that. And of course, we're going to have a couple of receptions every now and then during the next 10 years. I'm sure about it. But the main point is that we still need to continue this further GDP growth on the next decade in order to actually see prosperity for the average citizen. Now, they are right, they are correct why they are not having, this prosperity, and they have this harmony of disillusionment. But now, let me explain why they are also wrong. The first thing is that the way that you measure standards of living and quality of life is the access of goods and services. On the bottom of the market, we had, of course, a lot of food scarcity, we had hyperinflation, we had at that moment what is known in economics as a supply side crisis. So was demand for goods and services, however, the supply was lackluster, and of course, mostly thanks to self-inflicted wounds. However, most of those frictions on the Venezuelan economy had been, until a certain degree, eliminated. And right now, the providers, the supply side, have way more leeway in order to offer goods and services. So we have a way better offer of goods and services from grocery stores and supermarkets and restaurants and movie theaters and shops and malls and e-commerce, and yet again. So we have way more supply of goods and services. And even services that were only exclusive from Western nations, now we have it in Venezuela as well. Funny thing how it works. Anyway, and they're not seeing that, of course. Now the issue is that it's expensive in order to access such goods and services. And that's the main critique, the main complaint about the average Venezuelan. Of course, I'm sympathetic towards that particular situation. But what happens is that since we are having a brand new supply chain, and hence with more frictions and less scale, the unitary cost is a little bit more expensive, and it's going to take time in order to see more scale and more efficiency on the Venezuelan supply chain. Okay, a final thought regarding this harmony of disillusionment of the average Venezuelan. What I can say is that, of course, you have to understand why they feel this particular way. I mean, I didn't coin the term yet again, but I understand why they feel this way. And some of them are not feeling this way. Actually, they feel way better that compared to 2017. Of course, the sentiment is way more positive compared to 2017. I was bearish on Venezuela on 2017. So imagine that. How everything changes. Anyway, but these particular people, the issue is that first, they need patience and also they need strategy, because when the country actually is more prosperous on the near future, it's not gonna be like the old days with the handouts and the socialism and the free stuff, like that kind of thing. It's gonna be an economy where you're gonna have more opportunities, more synergy opportunities. So you have to work, you have to provide value for the market. That's something that a handful of people don't understand. Most Venezuelans understand that already, by the way, especially businesses. And right now, regarding the sentiment, what I can tell is it's a split decision. most businessmen and entrepreneurs, but I'm talking bona fide entrepreneurs, not wannabe entrepreneurs. And also the bona fide businessmen here in the country are bullish on the future. Of course, they are still a little bit cautious, but bullish on the future, doing their own thing. That's why we're seeing a lot of reinvesting on private businesses and capex and marketing expenses and all that kind of good stuff within the Venezuelan businessmen, but we still are a long way to go.
Thank you for watching Venezuela Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. If you want to work with us, VenezuelaInsider.com. Thanks again and have a nice day.